Everything Everywhere All at Once has been taking the entertainment world by storm thanks to its surprisingly astronomical success. Grossing $100 million with a starting budget of $25 million is no joke, and neither is winning Best Picture in Gotham Awards. So, when both of those things happened, we had to take a look at its crazy victory and figure out what made it such a big movie. Let's start by taking a look at its creators, the Daniels. The duo of Daniel Kwan and Daniel Scheinert met long before the astronomical success of this movie, back when they were film students in fact. And when they got their heads together, the first idea that came to them was a flatulent corpse movie that starred none other than Daniel Radcliffe and Paul Dano. Yep, we're talking about the 2018 film Swiss Army Man, which wasn't as big as this film, but it was definitely an original. Because, be honest, how often do you see a movie covering a gas-passing dead body in the wilderness who can even be ridden as a jet ski? So yeah, originality. That's their forte, and which brought on the duo's next feature film idea in Everything Everywhere All at Once. In fact, that's the vision they've been living by, because back when they were film school newbies, they were told that to be successful, they'll either need to create the best or the first. The Daniels knew being the best among the best as 19-year-olds wasn't going to be easy, so they decided to be the first. Creativity, originality, and storytelling could take you off guard and bypass your intellect. And that's what they did with their second feature film, which they pitched as a sci-fi action adventure about family. Now, if you've seen the film, you'll know it's much more than just that, but hey, if A24 and the film's investors bought it, who are we to complain? Next came their decision for a theatrical release. In the world of OOTD, a theatrical release always comes as a novelty, especially for movies like this one because, for one, they are more art house independent type than the usual franchises we see nowadays. And for another, specifically in Everything Everywhere's case, the time it was released was actually a time when a major Marvel film was coming out. Yup, none other than Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. And who'd want to compete with that? But then again, the Daniels definitely seem like risk takers to us because not only did they leverage the multiverse hype at the time for their own multiversal story, but they also dug their heels and went for a theatrical release when they were advised to go for a streaming platform. Well, we admire their genius for that because not only did their decision work out, but it also became A24's top performing movie, surpassing the likes of some pretty big names of the same in past years. Now, let's check out the numbers the film's made. The movie, which is also being called the Better Multiverse movie, by the way, has now become its production house A24's highest grossing film to date. It's the first movie from the company to reach $100 million at the box office benchmark, which is no small feat. Initially, the film opened up in 10 theaters only, but as its popularity started to grow, its showing increased as well, going up to 2,220 theaters to date with an average of 9.7 weeks average per theater. Also, just because it was released in limited theaters doesn't mean it stopped its growth in any way, because in its opening weekend, Everything Everywhere earned $500,000, which is a whopping 100% higher number than its starting budget. To date, the film has generated about $68.9 million in the US and $31.1 million internationally, including Canada, Australia, the UK, Taiwan, Russia, Hong Kong, Germany, Netherlands, and Mexico. It's also beaten the studio's own records, going higher than movies like Uncut Gems, Hereditary, Lady Bird, and Moonlight. Now, that's a success that no one saw coming, but boy, aren't we glad to see it happen. There's no denying the movie's an original. We know we've used that word far too much, but can you blame us? A movie about a struggling laundromat owner who's connected to a parallel universe and goes through some crazy action with her mom involving a universe of rocks and a man with sausage fingers. That's a first, and one that you wouldn't totally be sold on being the best. But it became one thanks to the creative geniuses of Kwan and Scheinert. So, what went on behind the scenes in creating this story that's been called a mind-bending multiverse movie you didn't know you needed by CNN? Well, at the core, this movie is a story of an immigrant family and their struggle to fit fit into the ever-changing modern world. It also talks about universal struggles people face, which makes it all the more relatable, even in its multiversal glory. The shades of everyday people act as a magnet to pull other people in. Also, initially, this was a story of a married couple with the guy in the lead. They'd even thought about who they'll cast, Jackie Chan, who's no stranger to those action moves we've seen in the movie. But then they decided to flip the roles and make the wife the main character. And according to both the guys, once they did that, the story started flowing a lot better. Moving on to its star lead, Michelle Yeoh. Speaking of the role reversal, the star who shined through the entire movie and made it the success it's become is none other than Yeoh. The Crazy Rich Asians and Shang-Chi actor is the one both Daniels had in mind even before they started looking for the lead roles. They've even said that after they flipped the genders and created the story, they were a little scared to meet Yeoh because they didn't have a backup plan to pitch her if she thought it was a weird idea. Lucky for them though, she loved it. The actress, whose Crazy Rich Asians was just about to be released, met them and voiced how she was bored and wanted to do something different. For the Daniels, it was like a match made in heaven, or the last piece finally fitting into the puzzle. Then came Jamie Lee Curtis as the IRS supervillain, and finally they added Ki-hee Kwan to the mix, and the rest, as they say, is history. Now, let's talk about its Best Picture award. So, the film came out, the world loved it. The numbers we told you about have proved that already. But then came the Gotham Awards, and the film duly received the recognition it deserved, being the best feature film to receive the award. Everything Everywhere was nominated among some pretty big names, including Aftersun, The Cathedral, Dos Estaciones, and Tar. It also won Ki-hee Kwan the Outstanding Supporting Performance from a pretty impressive nomination list, including Jessie Buckley, Hong Chow, Brian Tyree Henry, Mark Rylance, and Gabrielle Union. And speaking of him being the winner, did you hear the way he serenaded the Daniels for their choice of him and how he ended up being in the film? Let's talk about his emotional speech next. Praise for the movie aside, it's also pretty moving to see how it's changed the perception of the lives of the people starring in it, especially Ki-hee Kwan, who's just been super humble about receiving his second act in life after his initial success in Indiana Jones and The Goonies. In an interview with The Deadline, he mentions how he'd always wanted to work in a film where adults would recognize him for his work instead of just being known for his old work. And even when he did wrap up working on this film, he says there was a time during the pandemic when he didn't have a single job and even lost his life insurance. So when he finally received his accolade, Kwan didn't leave a single dry eye in the audience, saying how grateful he was to hear of the job from the creators of the film. He thanked everyone in the movie for their support, Jamie Lee Curtis for helping him find his confidence, and the people who've watched the movie up to 16 times. Well, guess that proves how well loved this film is. Finally, what's expected next from the Daniels? So, now that the guys have a pretty successful movie under their belts and a whole world to explore, what are they going to do next? According to Kwan and Scheinert, they've got an Excel sheet with about 15 movie ideas on it, but they'll probably be working on the top 3 sometime soon. One is a 3-person flick with an ambitiously philosophical story. Another is even bigger than Everything Everywhere. And the third is a film they're still wondering how experimental they can go with, considering it's a kids movie. They've also recently signed a contract with Universal for a 5-year partnership. Looks like both the guys are pretty hopeful about their future flicks. And considering the success this one's achieved, we are too. That's a wrap for this video. Have you watched Everything Everywhere all at once yet? Let us know your reviews about it in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.